Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry for the quick call, but I wanted to let you know you got it.
Shut the up. Oh my gosh. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new. Today's video is so exciting because, as you can tell by the title and by the first clip of this video, we bought a house. So this has been something we've been keeping a secret from you guys because we couldn't tell you until it was all finalized. But now that things are said and done, papers are signed, contracts are in place, we own the house, I can tell you guys that we bought a house, and it's so exciting. So today's video is going to be all about really how much it costs to buy a house, because this is something that Angelo and I had no idea about when we first started looking, and we bought this house together, so we really figured out all of it on our own. We got a real estate agent, obviously, that helped us along the way, which we'll talk about, and she was amazing. And yeah, we're just gonna be super transparent about how much everything costs, because I want you all to know, if you're trying to be a first-time home buyer like we were, I want you to have more information than what we had to begin with, because it's very helpful to start from a place of having some sort of education on it. So let's just get started. So this video is going to not only tell you how much everything costs, but it's also going to talk about the timeline of our process from when we first met with our agent to when we closed on our house, like the full timeline, and every detail of what happened. I will tally up the total costs on the screen, and somewhere I'll have a counter of like our grand total of how much it actually cost us to buy this house, because that is what I want you all to know at the end of the day, is how much are these inspections and reports and filings and all sorts of things going to cost. I want you all to know that, because that's something that we didn't know. So I will start with a quick disclaimer by saying that we have been wanting to buy a house for like 3 years. We've met with agents in the past. We weren't happy with our experience fully, but more recently, as we've been looking, we got a recommendation for one of my coworkers for a new real estate agent, and at the time I didn't think I was looking for an agent because I thought we had one, but we still met with her anyway, and it was a very easy decision to continue working with her. Her name is Nicole Harrison, and not only is she an agent, but she is the broker, and she owns the Harrison Co., which is the company that we purchased with. And she was a complete delight to work with. She totally respected our needs. She never asked us to negotiate on anything. We told her what we wanted, and that's what she got for us. And at any point, if we needed to kind of make a compromise, she was right there with us, and if we decided that the compromise wasn't worth it, she was totally okay with that. She wanted what was best for us the whole time, and many agents will tell you that, but you have to find the ones that will actually do it and show you that that's what they mean. So she was great to work with. So let's get started with the timeline. Like I said, we've been trying to do this for a few years now, and so throughout the past few years, we've researched on our own. We've talked to friends, we've talked to family, we've talked to agents, we've talked to so many people, we've watched YouTube videos, we've tried to educate ourselves, but it all led up to the moment when we met the agent we actually went with. So we're gonna start there today. So on April 19th of this year, 2022, we met with Nicole and we reviewed the home buying process. So she walked us through what a contract looks like from start to finish, a purchasing like offer letter contract situation. And so she walked us through every part of that and told us what everything meant, every single word, which was so helpful, especially considering that Angela and I are very detail oriented and we want to know every word on a paper before we sign it. We don't want to sign away anything if we don't know what we're signing. So that was a huge help. She also just reviewed the process with us, what it would look like, when we would start looking at homes, things like that. So something that we didn't understand right away was that even when we had our first meeting with her, we weren't going to start looking at houses until we had a pre-approval from a lender or a bank or wherever. So that was the first step. After meeting with Nicole on April 19th, that was the first step. So on April 27th, we filled out our pre-application for a home loan with a bank, and we went with a lender that was recommended by our realtor. So we didn't choose our own, we just went with what the realtor usually goes with. And like I told you all, my boss actually recommended me this realtor, and my boss also used the lender that she recommended. So we felt safe going with that choice. However, in the future, I think we would probably make a different choice. Just after working together throughout this process, we decided that it might not be the best fit just for our personalities and the lender's personality and the way that we worked together. But it got us this far, so we're thankful for that, and that totally is okay. that was all in April. Like I said, that loan pre-qualification application happened on April 27th. And once we got pre-qualified, which I actually didn't write down the date. Let me tell you guys, one moment. Okay, so I just found the date so I could just give you guys that timeline sense that I was telling you. We filled out the pre-qualification application on April 27th, and on April 28th, the next day, we found out that we were pre-approved for a certain amount of money. When our lender called to tell us that we were pre-approved, which was a very, very exciting phone call, he also informed us that we qualified for a first-time homebuyer program through the bank specifically. So there are a lot of different ways that you can get assistance, financial help, grants, loans, different little things like that. But ours was through the bank, which made it super, super easy because it's something that we didn't even know until he told us. And it made this process a lot easier and a lot more possible for us. So because we were first-time home buyers with a certain bank that we went with, we were able to do $0 down on the house, as well as 0 PMI, which stands for private mortgage insurance. And these are two things that you would normally always have to pay for. But with this program, the bank is going to pay, well, the bank did pay that PMI on our behalf to support us as first-time homebuyers, and we also did not have to pay a down payment, which was a huge benefit to us because buying a house is expensive, and that's what we're going to learn in this video. So keep that in mind as we go along. We did not pay a down payment, and typically a down payment is probably going to be your biggest chunk of purchasing your house. So eliminating that factor was extremely helpful for us. So now that we're through April, next is looking at houses. So from April 28th to May 14th was just looking at houses, our agent sending us stuff, us looking at stuff and sending it to her. And on May 14th, we went and looked at our very first house. So this house was stunning, beautiful. It was everything we wanted, but it was out of our price range. And if you know anything about buying a house, or if you're an agent or if you're a buyer, you know there's one thing that you shouldn't do, and it's look at houses outside of your price range. So Angela and I looked at a house outside of our price range, but it had everything we want. Actually, it had more than what we wanted. It had things that are on our, like, we would really love if a house had this, but usually when a house has those things, it's too far out of our price range. This one was just above our price range, so we felt comfortable enough to go see it, and when we saw it, we loved it. So on May 14th, we looked at our first house and we put an offer in. So that was our very first offer. At this point, we were just really hoping to get it, but also realizing that if we didn't get it, it would be a good learning experience on how to actually put in your first offer and know what that looks like. So we put in that offer and it did not get accepted. On June 3rd, though, we looked at 2 more houses in addition to that first one, and one of those houses was in the same neighborhood as the first one we looked at that we loved so much, and one of them was not. And the one that was in the same neighborhood, we did put another offer in on, and it did not get accepted. And that's really about as much as you all need to know. There's not a lot of details to it. And then on June 11th, we had looked at another house in the same neighborhood as our first 2 offers. And you probably guessed it, we put in an offer. And third time is a charm, I will tell you, because our third offer got accepted, and that is when this phone call happened. Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry for the quick call, but I wanted to let you know you got it.
Shut the up. Oh my gosh. I was not expecting you to say that. Oh my god, I have chills.
No, it's good.
So June 11th, we put in the offer on the place, and then June 12th, the next day, earlier than we expected to hear back, honestly, our agent Nicole called us to let us know that they accepted our offer, and we were shook, to say the least. We were not expecting it at all. We, like I said, had continued to put in offers knowing that we might not get it and we'd be okay with that, but we still loved the places we were putting offers in, because why would you put an offer in on something you don't love? So we were still in that headspace of like, we probably won't get it, but it's okay. And when we got our offer accepted, we were shocked and we were so excited. But it also meant that we had to get to work. And when that offer got accepted is when the work and the money kicked in really fast. So now we're gonna dive into that. So before I go into starting to talk about how much things cost, I wanna tell you all that our property that we purchased, it's a condo. It was under $180,000. I want you all to know at least like a range of what we're talking about, so you can understand that some of these costs are also related to how much our property costs. So if our property was more, some of these inspections might have cost more. So I hope that makes sense for you all, but our condo was under $180,000, so I want to give you that so that you understand how this comes back full picture. Like I told you, on June 12th our offer was accepted, which also means that on June 12th we had to take our earnest money deposit to our real estate agent. So the earnest money deposit check is sort of like a good faith deposit. It is an amount of money that you agree on in your offer, right? So the offer letter that we sent in on the 11th that I told you guys about, you designate in your offer, first of all, how much you're going to pay for the house or how much you're going to offer on the house, your earnest money amount, which is decided by you. As the buyer, you are deciding how much you want your earnest money deposit to be. We put $2,500 down in our earnest money deposit. I don't know how that affected our offer or anything like that. I mean, our offer got chosen. It doesn't mean that's why, but I just want to let you guys know that that is how much our earnest money check was. But we decided on that amount ourselves, and that's how much we were comfortable with. So on the 12th, we had to take our check to our real estate agent with that amount of money, $2,500. so that she could deposit it into an account where it sits until closing. So how this earnest money works is that once you decide on your amount, your offer gets accepted and you turn that into your agent, it will sit in an account until you're closing. And at closing, either your agent can hand you that money back, they can give you another check for $2,500 and just give it all back to you, or they can apply it to your closing costs. And so when you get to closing, the closing costs might be a little bit less than you were expecting because you already have that earnest money applied. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So that was all on June 12th, and then on June 13th, the next day, we started the formal loan application process. So as I mentioned before, we were pre-qualified for our loan, but it doesn't mean we were accepted. So at this point, we had to send in lots of financial documents, right? Like W-2s, bank statements, how many student loans you have, etc. So we were sending over our financial information to our bank and to our lender so that he could get us applied for our actual loan. So in the pre-qualification, we told them how much money we make, and we told them, you know, how much money we make, how reliable we are, etc. But when you come to apply for the actual loan, they need to prove that. They need to prove how much we make. They need to call the places where we work and make sure that we're not lying and that we actually work there, etc. So on June 12th, we started, or I'm sorry, on June 13th, we started that formal process. On June 13th as well, we completed a homebuyer education course. So we did a online quiz. This can happen in a variation of different ways, but our lender asked us to complete this quiz. It seemed pretty straightforward and simple, and it only took Angelo and I about 20 minutes or less to complete. But it is a quiz all about home buying and the loan process and payments and all of those kind of things to make sure that you understand what you're getting into. And so I think this is pretty common, but it's also something that I'd never heard of before buying a house, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And it was free. We just did it online and submitted our certificate back to our lender, and that was pretty simple. Now, it's still June 13th. A lot of stuff happened this day. After starting the loan application process and completing the education quiz, we had some inspections that were already being completed. When you buy a house, like I told you all, we had to put in our offer how much we were offering, right? Our earnest money amount, how much we were going to put down. And also we had to include how many days you have to do your inspections. So because the market is so crazy right now, a lot of people are waiving inspections entirely. And so that means that they're buying the house and they're just gonna trust that everything's okay, and they're not going to pay for an inspector or a professional to come in and make sure that everything about the house looks okay. So this was one of those things where Angelo and I worked with our agent Nicole and let her know that we were not willing to negotiate on an inspection, and we wanted inspections to be done. We were okay with doing them in a short amount of time, but it was really important for us to have them. So that is something we worked into our offer, and we gave them this number of days, which basically means, and I'm sorry that I put it on the screen, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I will make sure it's here. This is the amount of days that we promised we'd have inspections done by. And if we didn't have inspections done within that amount of days, then we had to move forward anyway. On June 13th, some of these inspections were already happening. Like I said, it was a very fast process. So we got the pest inspection, the home inspection, and we received the home inspection report all on this day. So first things first, pest inspection. I think this also was specifically looking for termites as well as other pests. But for this pest inspection, we paid $70. And then the home inspection, This is where if you had a bigger house or a smaller house, the price can vary depending on the size, because when an inspector comes in, they are looking at every single piece and part of your house. They are turning on the faucets, they are turning on the heat, they're turning off the heat, they're looking at the air conditioning, they're looking at the furnace, they are looking in the roof, they're climbing inside the crawl space, they are going under your house, they're looking at the foundation, they are looking at everything. So when your house is bigger, that's going to take longer. Because we had a condo, ours is a little bit smaller, but we decided that we would like to go with a structural engineer, and this was actually also inspired by my boss who recommended this agent. It was important for her to use a structural engineer as well, so we decided to follow in her footsteps, and we felt more comfortable doing that, so to ensure that the structure of our property was intact and had integrity. So with that, our home inspection cost $375. So for a condo our size, without a structural engineer, it most definitely would have cost a little bit less, but that's somewhere where we felt like the cost was really justified. And Angelo actually attended this inspection. It took a few hours, and Angelo walked around with the inspector, and they kind of did everything together, and Angelo got to watch, you know, everything he looked at, see what he said. And what was really nice about this inspection is that the same night, still June 13th, we got the inspection back, and that was really awesome. It was so many pages long, but they send you a big document. It has photos of things in your home, like everything they look at has photos of your furnace, it has photos of your attic, has photos of your living room, everything. And they wrap it all up into this nice big document that you can take with you so that you know if there are any underlying issues. Okay, we are finally moving on to June 14th. So at this point, we ordered the appraisal of our home. So when you buy a home, you need to have it appraised. So I'm going to try to really simplify this down because it's something that kept confusing me throughout the process, and I feel like it could definitely be confusing to others. But like I said, when you purchase a home, you're going to want to have it appraised, and what that means is someone who is a professional is going to come in and tell you how much your home is actually worth. So for instance, if you bought a house for $100,000, just making it a simple round number, and then you had the inspector come in and tell you that your house was worth $150,000, that would be good news, because that would mean it's worth $50,000 more than what you paid. On the opposite end, if you bought a house for $100,000, an inspector came in and said it's only worth $50,000, but you paid $100,000, that's not a good thing, and sometimes you have to pay the difference. And right now, with the way that the market is, paying the difference of that is something that is happening, and that is called an appraisal gap. So in our offer, we also included the amount of appraisal gap funds that we would be willing to put forward if this house appraised for less than what we paid. And so I believe the amount we agreed on, I can put it on the screen if I'm wrong, but I think we agreed that we would put around $8,000 towards an appraisal gap if that were necessary. But yeah, that is what the term appraisal gap means, which I will use more in this video. So on June 14th, we actually ordered that appraisal, which just means that we paid for it, and we told them that they need to go appraise our house, and we did not know how long this was going to take. So for the appraisal, we paid $525. So moving along, on June 16th, we received our radon report. So this is just another inspection, which it did get done within the amount of days, but we just didn't get the report until later. I don't think that this is common in like all of the world and all of the states of the United States, but I know that this is something that in Ohio we are always talking about, is inspecting for radon. So I am going to put a definition right here of what radon is so that I'm not misinterpreting or leading you the wrong way on talking about what radon is. But before buying a house, to us it was important to still get this inspection done to make sure that there were not an unhealthy amount of radon in the home, because that can lead to, I believe, cancer, and it can make you sick. So all of that being said, we paid $79 for our radon report, and the way that that worked is they did the radon test, and then as soon as we paid, we unlocked the report and we could view it, and there were not unhealthy levels, which is really good news. All right, we're getting close to the end, but on June 27th, this is when we set up homeowners insurance. So this is another thing that I didn't know until we got to this process, but I didn't realize that when you buy a home, you have to set up your homeowners insurance policy before you actually closed on the house and owned the house. Although it makes a lot of sense because I've lived in apartments, and you have to get renter's insurance when you live in apartments, and you usually set that up kind of beforehand. But before you close on your house, so before you even know for sure if you own it and you have the keys, you do need to set up an insurance policy that will go into effect the day that you close. So immediately when you close on that house, it already has insurance that you're paying for. So on June 27th, we set up our homeowners insurance policy, and I do not remember off the top of my head how much this costs, but that is because it was rolled into our closing costs, which I will disclose to you all. A lot of different fees, and this really depends, I think, on where you buy your house, who your lender and agent are, etc. But some costs you're gonna pay for up front, and some costs you're just gonna throw into your closing costs and, you know, tally it all up at the end. And some are your choice. So this one was rolled into our closing costs. Next, on June 28th, okay, so June 28th, we received our appraisal report. So like I told you all, we ordered our appraisal on June 14th. We got it back on June 28th, 14 days later, which was probably not, it wasn't 14 business days, but 14 full days later, we got that appraisal back. And the good news was that our house appraised for more than what we paid, which means it's valued higher than what we paid, AKA we got a good deal. And we were really excited to hear that and really surprised to hear that. So we did not have to use any of our appraisal gap funds. That was huge. So we are in July. Remember, we started this process toward mid-end April. So but July 5th, we received notice of a clear title. So just like when you buy a car and you have a title for your car that has your name on it and it says Erica owns this car, it belongs to her, and this is where she got it from, etc. You have a title on the house. It's the same sort of idea. And on July 5th, we found out that the title was clear, which is good news. It means there weren't any liens on the house. There was nothing outstandingly wrong with it that we needed to know about, and a clear title was a good news. Okay, so July 11th, we are getting ready for closing day, and at this point it's time to pay for the closing costs. So we closed on July 14th, but on July 11th, 3 days prior, we actually paid our closing costs in advance online, which was very nice. And the closing costs for our house were around $1,500, our closing costs. However, I told you at the beginning that earnest money could be applied to your closing costs, and we put $2,500 down for earnest money, and we did use that towards our closing costs. Finally, on July 14th, it was closing day, so we were really excited. Closing day is when you officially sign all of the paperwork and you own the house. So we had the final walkthrough of the house before we closed on it. We made sure everything looked like it was still in the same condition as when we saw it when we put the offer in. We measured some stuff so we would know how much flooring and paint to buy, because we're going to be doing some renovations, which I'm excited to share. And then we went over to our real estate agent's office and signed a fat stack of papers. And when I say a fat stack of papers, I mean like a lot of papers. So that is kind of a wrap up of the timeline and the cost of buying a house. This video is already super long, so I'm not going to keep talking, but I could go on and on all day about this stuff. I find it so interesting and so fun to talk about. So definitely comment down below if you want to know more. If you have specific questions, I will answer them to the best of my ability. We are super transparent just in general in our lives, and we like to share this information because I hope that it can help you, especially if you're a first-time home buyer or you've bought plenty of houses but you're just curious about someone else's process. I hope this helped you. So I am going to end the video there, but like I said, if you have questions, please comment them below. If you need resources or want to learn about some things we talked about in the video, check the description, or if you can't find it there, comment and I will respond to you immediately as fast as I can. But thank you all again for watching this video and for subscribing to my channel, and I will be so excited for all of the house content coming soon. Like I said, big projects are on the way, so I will see you all later. Bye.